Imagine a scientist who spent his life listening to the Earth, only to hear voices from a lost civilization, destroyed by Allah's wrath. A rhythmic tremor, ancient chants in the darkness, and a face buried in the sand that stared back with eternal regret. What Jonathan Reed discovered beneath Yemen's cursed dunes shook him to his soul. Not just bones and pillars, but the echo of divine warning. Haunted by horror, mystery, and guilt, his heart found something the mind had long denied: Islam. Watch till the end to feel how a stubborn seismologist bowed before the truth that even stone could not hide. Subscribe to feel these untold stories of faith, mystery, and mercy, only on Deen in Minute. The earth never lies. Beneath its silent crust, it keeps secrets older than our memory, older than any scripture carved in stone. My name is Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I was once a man of science alone, a seismologist trained to listen to the whispers of the shifting ground. I never imagined that it would be the earth itself that would guide me to the truth I had never sought, but my heart had always needed. It began with an unassuming tremor, a reading on my instruments, a quiver beneath the earth of Yemen, near the Rub al-Khali Desert, a place so dry and lifeless. Yet history whispered of lost cities swallowed by the dunes. Legends called them Iram, the city of pillars, mentioned in ancient texts and half-forgotten myths. At first, it was routine: catalog the tremor, update the data, publish the report. But the frequency was odd, almost rhythmic. It was as if the earth was beating with a heart of its own. Curiosity overruled caution. I boarded a plane from London, joined by my assistant, a young archaeologist named Samira, whose heritage traced back to these lands. Her dark eyes reflected the desert sky, and though we barely knew each other, her quiet dignity reminded me of something I could not yet name. We set our base at the edge of the dunes, where the sand met cracked rock. Days bled into nights of measurements, mapping, and debate. The tremors persisted, but local Bedouins warned us to leave. "It is cursed," an old man muttered in Arabic, words Samira translated reluctantly. "That which Allah has buried should remain buried." I laughed off his warning, a scientist clinging to the arrogance of certainty. Yet, each night, the wind carried strange sounds, like whispers rising from beneath the sands. At times, I thought I heard my name in the moan of the desert wind. One evening, the earth shook again, harder this time. The sand shifted, unveiling the broken tip of an ancient pillar. Carvings etched in a script I could not read wound around the stone, twisting like roots of history. Samira's breath caught. "These are the pillars of Iram," she whispered. "The city Allah destroyed for its arrogance." Her words stirred something in me. Allah, a name I had heard, but never spoken with reverence. Yet here, under a sky that stretched into eternity, it felt impossibly close. As we excavated, we uncovered more: fragments of walls, collapsed arches, bones wrapped in cloth that had turned to dust. The city lay dead, yet it seemed to watch us. At night, I dreamed of eyes opening beneath the sand. One night, unable to sleep, I walked alone into the ruins. The moonlight cast long shadows, making pillars look like silent sentinels. The silence was so complete it roared in my ears. Then I heard it, a low chant, almost inaudible, as if coming from deep within the earth. A single phrase, repeated again and again. I did not know the words, but they felt ancient and mournful. I followed the sound, my footsteps sinking into the soft sand, until I found a narrow stair descending into darkness. A current of cold air flowed from below, smelling of stone and secrets. Torch in hand, I descended. The chant grew louder, not angry, but sorrowful, echoing off the walls like a lament. My heart raced. Fear mingled with something that felt like awe. At the bottom lay a chamber, its walls covered in carvings. Men with proud faces, towers rising to the sky, and a great figure above them all, eyes stern, arm raised in warning. In the center stood a stone slab, cracked by time. Beside it, an urn lay shattered, its contents scattered, a scroll so fragile it crumbled at my touch. But a fragment remained, and by chance, or fate, the words were clear. Samira, hearing my absence, had followed. She read aloud, and when they turned away from his signs, he brought upon them a wind of destruction. Her voice trembled, and so did my soul, that he was Allah. The legend was not legend, it was history. As she read, a low rumble shook the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The air felt charged, as if unseen eyes had opened. We fled, hearts pounding, chased by the moan of shifting stones. Outside, the wind had risen, swirling the sand into devouring shapes. For a moment, I thought I saw faces in the storm, proud and angry, as if condemning my trespass. I could not sleep that night. I watched the stars, ancient and indifferent. For the first time, the weight of my ignorance pressed upon me. If this city had truly been destroyed by divine wrath, what did that mean for my own arrogance? Samira found me at dawn, eyes red with fear and sleeplessness. "Jonathan," she said softly, "do you understand now?" "I don't know," I confessed, "but I can't deny what I've seen." She told me of Allah, not as a distant idea, but as the one who knows all, sees all, and whose mercy is greater than his wrath. Her words were gentle, yet carried a conviction stronger than stone. I wanted to understand, but doubt clung to me like desert heat. That night, I returned to the chamber alone, hoping to find proof. Instead, I found horror. The walls pulsed with shadow, shapes twisting in the torchlight. The chant returned, louder and closer. It felt as though something ancient and damned moved just beyond my vision. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. The torch fell, and in the darkness, I stumbled, scraping my palms on cold stone. I reached out, and my hand landed on something warm, soft, possibly in place. I jerked back, heart pounding. In the brief flare before the torch died, I glimpsed him, a face half-buried in sand, eyes open, staring at me with an expression of eternal regret. I fled, heart hammering, chased by the echo of the chant. Outside, Samira found me, shaking in pain. "Jonathan, what did you see?" I saw their regret," I whispered. They knew what they had lost. She said nothing, only pressed a worn prayer bead into my hand. Sometimes, the earth shows us the truth our hearts refuse to see. That night, under the endless sky, I held the beads. For the first time, I whispered the name Allah, not as a question, but as a plea. Days passed. We documented the ruins, yet a heaviness hung over us. The city seemed to mourn itself, its silence loud with warning. One dawn, after another restless night, Samira brought me a copy of the Quran, wrapped in cloth. "I can't read Arabic," I protested weakly. "There's an English translation," she said, eyes shining. "Read with your heart, not just your eyes." Reluctantly, I opened it. The first verse I saw spoke of people destroyed for their arrogance, for turning away from the signs of Allah. It felt as though the earth itself had guided my hand. That day, we found an inscription near the city gate, half buried in sand. Samira translated, her voice barely above a whisper, "Remember your Lord, lest you become like us." I stood silent, the words echoing in my bones. The arrogance of a people who thought themselves invincible. The mercy that still left their warning for others. As the sun set, painting the dunes in fire and shadow, I felt a shift inside me. I realized I had been blind, deaf not to evidence, but to truth. That night, I returned to the ruins alone. Kneeling among broken pillars, I spoke aloud, not to the dead, but to the one I had never dared address. "I don't know how to pray," I whispered, "but if you are there, guide me." The wind sighed through the ruins, gentle, almost comforting. The fear I had carried fell away, leaving only a deep, aching humility. Samira taught me the words of the Shaida, the testimony of faith. My voice cracked as I spoke them, but each syllable felt as though it had always belonged to me. I bore witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. At that moment, the desert seemed to breathe. The weight I had carried, the arrogance, the doubt, lifted, replaced by something profound and terrifyingly beautiful: submission. Not to darkness, but to light. The expedition ended, and we returned to London. Yet I could not leave what I had found. I embraced Islam publicly, facing questions, doubt, even ridicule from colleagues. But my heart was firm, anchored deeper than the oldest stone. For I had seen what arrogance births and what humility saves. Years have passed. I still study the earth, but now each tremor feels like a reminder, not of destruction, but of the power and mercy of the one who created it. I pray 5 times a day, my forehead touching the ground that once seemed mute stone, but now feels alive with praise. I married Samira. Together, we share our story, not of a lost civilization alone, but of a lost soul found. And every day, when I recite the words of the Quran, I remember the wind over Iram's broken pillars, whispering of warning and mercy. The earth does not lie, and the heart, when it finally listens, finds truth older than any civilization.